Hello, it is April 22nd, 2019. No, that's not what it looks like outside. It is a beautiful sunny day and spring is in the air. So a few of you might have some questions for me, and you might be wondering why I am showing you the bleak midwinter. And I'll answer your questions and I'll tell you why I'm showing the winter right now. We are not doing any news today from the outside world. This is all from my neck of the woods. This is actually taken the weekend before Lent, and I decided to take that weekend as well as all of Lent to decide what parts of my life were productive and satisfying and which parts I needed to make adjustments or changes or eliminate altogether. And so you're seeing pictures from then as well as the first weekend in March when we finally got to have Lake Cross. And this year it was a little different in that our auto racing, the track racing around the lake, was only one day. And then the next day we had 8-mile drag racing on snow sleds. So that was a lot of fun to watch, and I hope you enjoy the pictures from both events while we chat a little bit. So I have to tell you that, as you well know, there's a lot of things that happened in the time between the beginning of March and now. The Smollett's case exploded. The Mueller investigation ended. There were shenanigans from our favorite freshman congressmen and congresswomen. The president got a little amped up towards the end of the Mueller investigation and the beginning of our brief wait for Attorney General Barr to make his legal opinion known, as well as the president's position with regard to charges, and you already know all that stuff. So I was pretty quiet. I purposefully did not pay too much attention other than to just be aware. But then towards the end of the second week in March, I started tweeting again because the dog and I were pinned down. The dog got very sick and ended up needing vet care, which I had pinned that notification that she was sick to my Twitter feed, although I obviously didn't say anything to anybody else in my other platforms, and I apologize for that, but I really felt like it was important for me to just not only stick to the commitment I had made to myself during Lent, but to just concentrate on getting her well, because her diagnosis was Clostridium overgrowth, which is a bad bacteria in the large colon. And for dogs, if you don't catch it and treat it as soon as you understand that you can't take care of the dog's needs on your own, it can lead to some very serious and nasty complications that we'd like to avoid if we can. Now, these shots right here are from right before she got sick. She was healthy. You could see that she was enjoying herself. She was out for the races. And then to continue on, the Clostridium overgrowth is caused by bacteria that break down freshwater marine plant life. And if you look in these shots, you will see that along the shore, there is melting ice, and that happened the weekend after the races. So she was out there running around and chomping on the ice, and drinking the water that was still. It had been still the whole of the winter, and so that bacteria, as soon as the water along the shoreline, even though we still had good ice cover out on the lake, the bacteria along the shoreline had a chance to cook. And that little series of shots is coming up here in a few minutes. So this, nasty brew of useful bacteria in lakes and streams, not good for dogs. I would suggest to you, if you have dogs who are used to being around the water, you might not want to let them drink from the lakes and streams until the 2 weeks, trying to get her all well and happy again. And we accomplished that. When she started feeling better again, I started taking her out and doing her spring, sort of tune-up. And in the meantime, I also, because I spent so much time just sitting and recording and creating and editing last year, I also needed to get out and start enjoying the weather again. That brings us to the original purpose for the hiatus, and that is to reevaluate my broadcasting and so forth. And I have come to the conclusion, actually I came to the conclusion shortly after the dog was well again and I was taking her outside, that the broadcast was already in my rear view mirror for the most part. The way it has been done, reading the news out to you and giving my opinion or my thoughts on it. I can't live stream, as you may know, so to not do it live doesn't gain me an audience. And I've always said, whether it was when I first started out with the free blog or also continuing on with the video broadcast, that if there's no support financially to help offset costs, then I will know at some point when I can't sustain it myself that it is no longer necessary, or at least my time doing this kind of news and politics broadcast is at an end. And that's the conclusion I've come to. It's in my rear view mirror, and as tempted as I was last week when the fire broke out at Notre Dame Cathedral to jump on the video software and make a broadcast because it was Holy Week, I resisted that temptation, and I let other people who are more skilled and more knowledgeable than I take that responsibility on. The ironic thing throughout this whole hiatus is that Subscribestar, with expedited verification requests, finally came through and approved our site and our video content for monetization. So we really appreciate Subscribestar for doing that. And also we'd like to give a shout out to Nick at Mumble It. He's offered us a month of pro status for a reboot should we choose to take that offer up. It's very generous of Nick, and we certainly appreciate him wanting to come alongside and do whatever he can that's mutually beneficial to both Halieus Media and mumbleit.com. I also took the opportunity at the end of this hiatus to do some deep cleaning. I will confess to you that I have neglected my own little neck of the woods a lot during the time that I was broadcasting, because there were so many things that we were covering and they were happening so fast that I made broadcasting a priority. And so the prize or the benefit or the blessing of taking this time to do this deep cleaning is that on Sunday well, on Saturday actually, my oldest showed up with a significant other friend in tow to spend Resurrection Day with me. And this is a huge thing for me because my family is spread out all over the country, and only 2 of us actually live in the same state. And it's been quite a few years since I've seen my family. So we had a wonderful visit. It was very relaxed. It was not at all a what do I want to say, scheduled, formal family thing. It was, late breakfast, take the dog out and run her around a little bit, because she was very antsy about the fact that there were strangers in her house, and she did not truthfully react well to it. Although in the end, she, decided that my offspring was worthy of her attention, which was just really great. And here you can see in these next couple of shots where we had good ice in the middle of the lake, but we were having ice melt along the shoreline, which caused all of our problems. So, having said that, I hope those of you that have subscribed on various platforms, on halieusmedia.com, on BitChute, on Mumbleit, on YouTube and Twitter, I hope that you have enjoyed the last year exploring politics and current events with me. I don't believe I will be doing that kind of show on a regular basis from here going forward. You've also heard me say, when we've had this topic come up, that I'm interested in doing some DIY videos, that I'd like to do more road trips with Pyre Media. We have not, the last one we went on, we didn't even, it's never been included. It was the wine trip last fall. Well, didn't start out to be a wine trip, but it ended up being a wine trip. And that one never got published. There are some shots from quite a few, 500-600 shots from the trail cam that we've never produced a show about. And I left a few of my projects off the table in lieu of the show format as it stood. So I'd like to do some DIY. I'd like to do maybe some food preservation. I'd like to maybe take you guys to the little farmer's market this summer that's really steps away from my door. I'd like to show you some progress with the shepherd as she learns how to do carting and freighting. We really didn't do much of it last summer because we had just made the cart, but that might be a goal until it gets hot for us to film some of her carting abilities as she learns, and you might learn something too from it. In these concluding moments of this broadcast, marking the end of the news, politics, and information effort on the part of myself and Pyre Media via Halieus Media, I'd like to say a huge thank you to the people who subscribed or shared or commented. I have to say that after a year and a half, roughly, I've had a 98% positive interaction with the audience. And that other 2% interaction that was not positive, that was downright nasty, happened on other people's platforms. It didn't happen within the context of any Halieus Media broadcast. Yeah, there was one or two snarky comments, but overall, this has been a rare privilege to serve you this way. And I thank you very much for it. I've learned a lot. You go and listen to one of the first trial broadcasts, you will see how uncomfortable I was speaking, and I'll confess to you today that I'm very rusty and have had to cut some of my own verbal stumbles out like I just did. Nevertheless, your participation and your patience with me as I learned how to produce a broadcast, or relearned actually how to do it, I can't tell you, I'm immensely grateful that you stuck with me all this time. And in these last couple of moments, I'd like to take the time to thank again some of the people who showed me the ropes and mentored me by way of example along the way. You've seen some of them in our outro over the last year and a half or so, but I'd just like to take the time to acknowledge their contribution once again. Roy Potter, who has, by way of example and by way of his cool-headed analysis and his spiritual overlay, has brought us great insight and great steadfastness. And yes, he's as capable as any of us of being upset and angry at what he sees happening to this country. But for me personally, he has been a spiritual mentor as well as a strategic thinking mentor, and I sincerely appreciate everything he's done for those of us who followed him. And Scott Anthony, who gave me the opportunity to mod on his live chats during the Scott Anthony broadcast. We really had a lot of fun on that broadcast, and it was the most chill and relaxed broadcast I've ever participated in. I'd also like to shout out to Abel Danger, who I don't currently participate in their broadcast but have appreciated their work, and I can say to you that I will be recommending some new broadcasters. You might be interested to know that I've been watching an A-frame off-grid build over the last couple of weeks, as well as Justin Rhodes' Permaculture Farm broadcast. These are people that I am familiar with, but I confess that I stopped following them for a while because I was broadcasting myself. So I'd like to say to you, I hope you are well and blessed. I hope that you spent time with people that you love over the Resurrection Day weekend, and that you benefited from that as I did. As we always say at the end of our broadcasts, for me and the Shepherd and Pyre Media, we hope that you are well and blessed. We hope we've been a blessing and a service to you, and we'll see you soon.